either fall in love instantly or don't like you at all. Oof, two polar opposite things.
That's definitely something I'm guilty of.
I've been guilty about it before too, and trying to avoid it in this current present time that we are
Oh
in.
my god.
So, so good.
Same.
I'll keep you in check, you keep me in check. But one of the things we are going to be talking about is how we fall in love instantly. But first of all, what is instantly in the age of Instagram? Haha.
Ha. Nice. Yeah, what is instant? Like, what's the right amount,
Is it
even?
like one date, two dates, a week, a month? You know, sometimes I guess it's different. For me, oh, it depends. It
It
depends. It
depends,
depends.
man.
Depends.
Do you have, I feel like you have examples to share with the
I
audience.
get, yeah, I do.
I know I
I
do, at
have at
least.
least 10. Just kidding. I guess I don't know what one of the stories that like really jumped out of my mind when I was thinking like, when was the time that I like super fell in love instantly? And we're gonna go way, 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 way back to high school, um, to my first love actually, because I think in high school we're prey to really just fall in love instantly. And at that time, like what we think is like love is really just puppy love. um,
Mm-hmm.
or like just infatuation or just hormones. You know, in
Mm-hmm.
high school, most of what it takes to get a girl is what now? Like a car so that he could take you places. That's about it. And I guess even getting it a little bit more serious is like, you know, that high school boyfriend of mine, like we were together for like about 2 years, and like I knew his family, and at the time I was going through like things with my family. So, you know, shared traumatic experiences also like make you feel like, oh, there's nobody else that's gonna love me like this or like understand what I've been through. Because like this
Hmm.
was so traumatic and like they're still with me through it. So like this must be love.
Oh my God. I've had those thoughts so many times. Well, like just what you said that I remembered like in a specific experience. So that's crazy. That is a pattern.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, if they're still with me after we went through all that crazy stuff, then they're
Exactly.
great.
And sometimes it's like
Which
that
is
excuse to stay,
so
even
bad.
though it's like, okay, this has, you know, gone on way past its expiration date and now it's just toxic or you're
Mm-hmm.
holding each other back.
Preach.
So yeah, and in high school, it's just it can happen so instantly. Like also you're surrounded by the same people, but every day with the same environment and the same routine. So it's just so easy. You know, you don't have any bills to pay. You know, it's so different um, to what we're experiencing now in like our 20s. Don't you have? Didn't you say that this is something you're currently working on?
Yes. I mean, my dating history doesn't go as far back as high school. Um, it kind of started later when I was 21. So I'm just like always learning like what even is a relationship, how to relate with others romantically, like what mistakes I've been making. So I feel like even today, like when I'm getting to know someone, I reflect a little bit on the past and I'm like, okay, let me try not to do this in this new relationship. And one of the things that always comes up is let me not fall in love with them like right away, like the second I meet them, because that's kind of how my first relationship started. Like we just got into
Mm-hmm.
it too soon. And then I realized that I didn't even know the person and I was getting to know the person after we were already together. Not that you ever like finish
Mm-hmm.
getting to know a person, but you know, I didn't know like really important basic things. So I was like finding them out like when we were already 4 or 5 months in being boyfriend and girlfriend, and then I'm like, I don't even like him. Like what? So, and that's basically why I ended up my first relationship. I was like, I'm not in love with, like, no. And the more I was getting to know him, the more I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wait, I should have known this before saying yes to being his girlfriend.
So you say you're currently
So,
working on it.
yeah.
How are you currently working on it? Like what other than like texting me and like also checking in with other friends about their opinions, like what are now ways that you do so
Hmm.
that you don't automatically fall in love with the very next
Well,
person?
I try to be more, right. I try to be more
Mm.
factual than, like, instead of projecting what I want this person to be for me, I try to look at the facts. I'm like, what have they done? Like, what have they told me? And is that really showing what I think I know about them? Because one thing we do a lot is like project. Like, let's say, for example, you like musicians, I don't know, and then he told you he would like to one day learn how to play the guitar. Then you like make this whole movie in your head. He's like, oh my god, he's into music. He wants to learn how to play guitar. He's gonna learn how to play guitar, and he's gonna sing songs to me every night. Like, no, he just said he might maybe someday learn guitar. Like, what are you? Our minds just go so
Mhm.
far off. Like the second we can hold on to anything that is kind of sounds like what we want, we're like, oh yeah, this is it. Yeah, because he said he likes guitar. This is definitely the musician husband that I want in my future. Like, no, Karen, relax. So this is me. Like, this is the things I have to like just practice and think about sometimes, because I think the person that I'm talking to right now has qualities that are like what I've
Mhm.
always wanted. But even that, even me knowing that they're for real, I'm still like not fully like letting them get too much to my head. I probably already am, but at least I'm
Is this
aware of
the thing
it.
that you're
And
addicted to love? Still
no,
different.
like I will cover the addiction to love
Mm.
later, but um, I think I might have. I think I might be to a degree, to be honest, because like at the end of the day, I think it's all a hormonal addiction. Like we're just addicted to like dopamine and like
Uh-huh.
feeling in love and like all the honeymoon phase and like thinking this person is the one and like passionately pursuing something. Like all of that makes us feel good, and that's why we constantly like try to convince ourselves that we are falling in love and that we like this person so much just because it
Mhm.
feels good. But sometimes we gotta think like, okay, it feels good, but what is it really meaning for me to be like going so fast with this guy or girl or
Yeah.
whatever? But I was gonna say, shoot, what was your first question? Oh, the things that I'm
Uh-huh.
doing to make sure I don't do
Yeah.
it again. Also, is therapy. Like I started therapy. I'm not sure if I mentioned that last episode, but
Mhm.
you know it, Adrian, definitely, because I told you. And one of the things I'm talking to my therapist about is this. It's like I want to learn how to relate to other people romantically more
Realistically, you said.
um,
Factually.
realistically and like in a
Mm.
healthier way in general. And then she does the therapy thing where she asks me questions to see what are the areas exactly that I'm
Mhm.
failing at, and then like working on those. Um, so that's another way that I'm trying to improve. It's like maybe I don't know the answers or like exactly what I have to do, and maybe I'm not as bad as I think I am, but at least now I have a professional to really assess the situation.
Exactly. And that's the key word, professional. Because we can keep digging and digging and creating these, you know, pulling every string to make the perfect picture, but actually we just have all these deep-seated things that we have to actually deal with emotionally. So, yeah, that's amazing that you're actually doing that and also just um, you know, not you're pacing yourself basically.
I have problems facing myself. And that's what this episode is about. It's like we just rush into
Yeah.
things, right? So
finding
Yeah,
that
that's
balance.
something I definitely know. Yeah, I think it's just so exciting, and
It's
like
fun.
at
It's
least
so
for
fun to
me.
be adored by like more people and to be told like especially in the beginning because in the beginning you're told sweet nothings, right? Like, "Oh, yes, I will agree." Um you like you said like the guitar thing. Should I go into my story number 2 at this point? You think? Yeah.
Sure.
Um so
Tell us everything, Adrian.
so then the next one. So like the other one like turned into like this long-term relationship. So that was the first story. The second one now was pretty recent. The SF boy, which was kind of like insane because when we were kind of drafting this episode, um, I was telling Bianca, oh, like you remember, like he told me over text that he loved me after 2 weeks. Okay, and that was like not even like 2 weeks of like seeing each other. This was the first like 4 dates. It was just like we were in our own little bubble. Like we didn't really, we just enjoyed. And I also just got out of a 3-year relationship, so it was kind of like
Like just got
just
out.
got out kind of thing. So for this to already go so well, like we had a lot of things in common. Of course, duh. Um, as I thought. Like I was like, oh great, this is what dating is going to be like. Like everyone's going to be
I think
amazing. It's going to be great.
let me correct you though. You said you had a lot of things in common. I don't think you guys had a lot of things in common. And that's part of what we have to talk about. It's like the whole guitar analogy.
Yeah,
Like
and
he
I'll go
probably
into
told
that.
you
Yeah.
something like mild, but in reality, like you guys are so different. Like at the end of the story, you can clearly see
Hmm.
that you're two
Oh yeah, the
opposites.
things
So the
that
fact that you thought you had so much in common is
and that's
crazy.
the thing. Like I focus on the things that we had in common, but like those were like little things. At the end of the day, like yeah, okay. Like things and interests and things like that. But when it comes to like values, ethics, manners, human decency, like we have nothing, none of that in common, obviously. And that is not the kind of person that um, I wanted to be with. Like toxicity levels, like not the same. And at the time, like because I also was coming out of a relationship and like fresh from a breakup, everything looked great. And later I
Mm-hmm.
learned it's like, oh, no, dating is not like this. Like there are some people that you will disagree with and some people that will not you won't share the same experiences with. And you know, come to find out like later when I do move back to New York and we meet up again, this SF boy also happens to live in New York. Um, and we met up, all reality kind of like caved in and it was just like yeah, that bubble kind of popped and then all the red flags kind of started blaring also because Bianca kept reminding me also and my roommates and things. People kept me in check, but I at the time refused to because I was so quote unquote in love. But at the end of the day, it was actually just manipulation. Like he was totally and completely manipulating me because he knew that I was weak from like having just gotten out of a
Damn.
relationship. So and
Question: did you tell him that you had just gotten out?
more or less, yeah, it was a conversation that it was like, yeah, pretty common knowledge. Um,
Okay, because he could have used that
oh,
as leverage.
totally, exactly. And somebody, as he's also not a dumbass because manipulative people can be very smart and
Smart.
will
Yeah.
abuse that. So that's exactly what he did. He manipulated me for the sake of lust, not love. Totally, totally not that. And for the first few weeks of texting and like all of this before I flew back to New York and things came crashing down. It was kind of like that was just blinded. Like that was not anything close to love. It was yeah, it was infatuation and just being dumb.
Which is fair. We're all humans. We all seek for love at the end of the day. And like you said, you had gotten out of a relationship.
Yeah, I was a
So
fool because
it's natural. Yeah.
he played the whole like we have a lot of things in common kind of thing, and then throwing all the lines that I was not so familiar with because it's been a while, and now that I'm back
Right.
into it, I can actually recognize that and apply it and, be better.
He was one of those classic examples that they start like giving you this image of like the perfect guy, and then as you continue to get to know them, probably like after you've had intimacy, they like start fading out and like changing suddenly, and you're like, what is going
Yeah.
on? Like he totally was one of those
So how
guys.
long does it actually take
Classic.
for you to get to know someone before even considering getting into a relationship?
That's a hard question, and I'm still figuring it out. But maybe there's not a. It's not about a time like, oh, 5 weeks and 2 days. Like
In
it's nothing
3 minutes.
specific. It's more about, I think, asking the right
Yeah.
questions right from the start, and like digging exactly what you want to know that would be important to you in the future right from the start. Because you can spend years talking to a person and still not know what they're about. Just talking about random stuff and like having shallow conversations. But also, you can, from the very beginning, be proactive about finding out who they
The
are
depth of it. I like
more,
that.
yeah, more
Hmm.
deeply. So it could be fast, but I don't think it should be like less than a month though, because you also got to feel the person.
Oh, yes.
Um, like talking is I would say the fastest way to get to know someone, but also seeing them, how they act, and that requires observation. So I wouldn't go less than a month, even if you're asking all the right questions.
Exactly. Different environments
Yep,
also can be triggering or also like thriving depending, for each person. Like me in the cold, no thanks. I am a different person in the snow.
yeah, you're right. I am too. I am such a different person in the summer. Like I become the most cheerful, happy, like super
Yeah.
tolerant.
I've learned to
In
ask
the cold,
people
bruh.
to be like, do you suffer from like seasonal affected, or what's the actual proper term? Like disorder? What is it? And it's so funny because
I'm not sure.
seasonal affective disorder. Yeah, sorry. So seasonal affective disorder is like basically like depression that occurs every same time of the year, like depending like if you're what time of the season that like depresses you. So it's a thing.
Sure.
And like there are lamps
Also,
that people use to like combat that.
and also observing how this partner that you're trying to evaluate reacts to important moments for you.
Oh, I
I
like
think
that.
that's also I think that's also something that you can really put a time
Yes.
on. It's just like when a situation
Hmm.
happens, you will see how they are, kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
Will they be
Like, I
proud of
don't know, let's
you
say
for an
you're
accomplishment?
right, or like if you go through something really terrible, how much are they there for you? There's things like that
Hmm.
you can really tell unless something happens. So it's tricky
Yeah.
to know like how long. But I think if you're like really trying and like being honest with yourself about what you want and communicating that to the person, that does help you figure out right away if they're at least worth a try.
Exactly.
Because I think at the beginning we're very afraid to tell like straight up what it is that we want. I definitely have that. I'm always like, oh, I'm a casual girl, like whatever is fine. And then like 2 weeks later, I'm like, Adrian, I think I want a relationship.
Yep. Yeah. Um,
So yeah, be honest about what you want. That's gonna save you
exactly.
time.
And I guess that's where it also that's where the instant part falls into all this dating thing, right? Is that when those initial impressions, for example, it's like, oh, I can really truly be open and honest with you and like make laughs and jokes and like be corny or dorky, because I'm comfortable with you instantly. Like you know the vibe of a person and you know instantly I'm comfortable with
Mm-hmm.
you and we'll vibe and like it'll be chill. And then there's some people that just like rub you the wrong
That's not
way,
enough.
and it's just
Yeah.
I just there's just something about you. I can't really pinpoint it, but like I can't seem to just get close to you or open up to you. So that's where it kind of like helps that like okay, initial reactions and things like that do matter in an instantaneous moment. It helps you to
But they're not enough, I
yeah,
would
I mean
say.
over time of course you know, we don't just write
You will
people
tell.
off. You know, we do give people the benefit of the doubt and give them chances as much as possible. Um, so yeah, I mean, basically, like what I guess, um, what kind of like first impressions, I guess, um, have turned you off, or like what have become deal breakers due to first impressions.
One of my deal breakers right now that I used to be more flexible with before is if you're an atheist.
Mm,
Be- Dude, because I'm a Christian myself, but I'm very open minded. So before I used to be like, I can date an atheist, like I can get along with an atheist, like, and if it works, and blah
mm-hmm,
blah. And I have atheist friends for sure, but I've been in that situation, and actually, I was in a relationship with he wouldn't call himself an atheist, but he definitely wasn't like a Christian. Definitely avoided the topic and all that sort of stuff, and that ended up biting me in the ass.
mm,
Like long in the relationship, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is really important to me, and I can't share with my boyfriend. Like this is so heartbreaking." So after that, I kind of learned my lesson. I'm like, I think I can, but down the line, future Bianca is gonna be like, "You don't mess up."
yeah,
So
I am right there with
now I'm
you.
like, that's a deal breaker. I'm sorry, it sounds very close minded. Like, oh, you're an atheist, and that's a deal breaker.
No, but that's why
But I'm just
it's a
saying, like, I've
personal
been
preference. I
there.
mean, like you've been there before, and that's why we're here to like, you know, everybody. This streamlines your process, knowing like what exactly you do want and what you don't want. I mean, I've been there. I tried to. There was
And
this like really cute like Jehovah's Witness before, and it turned out to be terrible, terrible, terrible decision. So
see,
yeah, no,
and I
terrible.
think I'm not saying it's like 0% chance. Like maybe there's a 10% chance, that I can marry an atheist.
Hmm.
Who knows? But I'm just saying, I know it's gonna be
Yeah.
difficult for sure if I
And it's
try.
nothing like against like other religions or anything, or like Jehovah's Witnesses or atheists or anything like that. You know, everybody can believe and choose their own, but you know, for somebody like, you know, for us like looking for a partner long term, it's kind of just let's be realistic also. Yeah.
Yes. Another thing on the lighter side and funnier
Yeah.
side too, because that was like a really
It
serious
was. That's
one
why
to
I had to
start
put
with.
that disclaimer. Like, you know, we love everyone. Just
Yeah, we do. Like I
yeah.
said, I have many atheist friends. That's actually
That's the
why I
line.
thought,
All
and
right.
that's actually why I thought it could work. Because I'm like, I've not. That's never been a problem for
Hmm.
me relating to people. Like different religions. So that's why I gave it a try, and I was like, sure, I can do this. But I'm
The
just saying,
expectations
like,
are
trial and
different when
error.
it comes to like a
Yeah,
long-term partner. Yeah.
yeah. So a lighter and slash funnier thing that I can't stand and might be a deal breaker, especially because we're also older,
Hmm.
and me who dates older men too. Like after you're old ish, or like after you're like a mature
Uh-huh.
adult, it's really difficult for you to change, like habits
Yes.
and like ticks and whatever. So one thing that I really cannot stand is more like a pet peeve, but if you have it, it's probably not gonna work because you're old to like change that anyway. Is people that chew
Oh my
loudly.
gosh,
How
I
do you
have
call
this.
that?
I would literally, that's my number one.
I
We are the same
cannot. I
person
like would.
sometimes.
Yeah, like I can. I have done this where I just like I stand up and leave because I cannot keep listening to this person chewing.
My grandfather will love
Imagine
you
living to that.
because literally growing up, my grandfather was like, stop smacking. Stop smacking. chew with your mouth
I
closed
cannot stand it.
every time. I grew up like that. So now I hate it when people smack. I hate it. That,
I cannot stand. Imagine
terrible.
being married to someone like that,
No.
and every time you have breakfast or lunch, they're like making noises. Ugh,
No, it's not gonna work.
no. So yeah, what about you?
That's
Tell
exactly
me
what I
one.
was actually going to say. It's so funny. I was waiting this whole time to say it, and now I have nothing because that is exactly what my number one pet peeve is. Um,
That's funny.
After that, it's kind of getting nitpicky. I can't really think of anything at the top of my head. I'm sure when we get off of this podcast, we're gonna think of so many things. Uh,
Well, of course, like someone who is not a
okay,
feminist,
yes, exactly, and that's going back to
who
what
would
you
like,
said a while ago about how they react to certain situations. Like, for example, when you get a
mm-hmm,
promotion or something that you feel like is an achievement, they actually, are proud of you and like praise you and like give you the credit where credit is due. And it's not just like, oh,
mm-hmm,
whatever, it's just a promotion. You're fine. Like, whatever. Like there are certain
yeah,
situations that require like effort like that. So yeah, you're right in that regard. Um, I can't really think of anything else. And that kind of like leads me to kind of like our conclusion about, like we grew up with this idea, like watching movies and things like that, of like, there's this one, like there's the one, or Prince Charming, or the like this is it, like, that idea.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um, that like we're striving so much and looking for perfection when like we're not even freaking perfect ourselves. So it's like, how
yeah.
can
It's
we
about
expect now two people to be perfect?
yeah,
So at some
mm-hmm,
point, compromise is key, and like time also.
exactly.
You have to allow, like, okay, if this person not entirely perfect, but like they have all these key qualities. There's like maybe 10%, 20% that you're like, can't. But then over time, then you can teach each other, compromise, and like you'll learn habits, so it'll also be easier. Um,
It's about match,
yeah,
also. Like you're two imperfect people, but how do your qualities match so that you can be better together?
exactly.
You
And that's
know.
something that takes effort. It's not something like love isn't magic. Like it takes effort, it takes work. It takes, I like it's so corny, but it's like choosing that person every day. And by choosing, meaning like making the effort to actually keep that person in your life daily. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So yeah, in conclusion, there's no specific time, but try to think about the qualities that are important to you. Ask the difficult questions and be honest. And after that, time will tell. But make sure you get your baseline or like key traits down
yes,
before you jump into anything.
exactly. Don't fall into the trap of that instant. Everything else is instant, but love, I guess, as we're learning as we're getting older, is that it takes time and
So
effort,
corny.
right? It is. But wow, it's so true. Speaking from
But
two very impatient people.
true. So guys, let us know what's important to you and what you look for in a partner. Oh, it didn't stop at 30.
Yeah.
I guess I'll keep talking. I was like rushing
Me
the end.
too. Hey guys, by the way, we also forgot to mention that we are recording this in the midst of like day two of oh no, day three of self quarantine. So we
Oh
don't
my
have video
gosh.
this week. We're recording this from the Anchor app on our phone/iPad. Um,
No. No anchor app. Just
an
an
app,
app. There's no sponsorship
right?
here. Pay us first, then we mention.
um, yeah, so we're recording this from an app and separately because we have to flatten the curve. So we're staying home, not
Mm-hmm.
really keeping
Exactly.
6 feet distance and only going out for like essentials as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. But we still wanted to record the episode, so that's why we did
Exactly,
this.
because we can't get enough of each other, boo boo.
That's so true. But anyway, let us know what are the things you guys wanna know about the person instantly to make sure they're at least worth dating instead of like jumping right into the first person that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I wanted to recommend everyone because it's very along the lines of this episode to watch. Oh, this is not sponsored. Whatever. To watch Dirty John on Netflix. It's about a very successful businesswoman, with a family and like really beautiful and independent and whatever, who falls for this pathological liar and they get, well, I don't want to spoil it, but they go into it really fast and there you can learn all about why you shouldn't do that. And it's really interesting.
Ooh,
Just
and I
a
haven't actually seen it,
recommendation.
so I'm gonna go watch it along with you guys because I haven't seen it at all. So I'm gonna take that recommendation
Hmm.
when this podcast ends, and I hope you guys
So
are
good.
enjoying your self quarantine.
And I hope that when you're listening to this episode, everything with the coronavirus is over.
Yes, I hope so, because that means this is episode 8. That's like 2 months out.
Exactly. So I really hope
Yeah.
so.
Good
Anyway,
night,
we'll talk to you
good
guys
day, good
soon.
morning. Happy subway ride wherever you are. Bye.